What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 131 of Left Coast Leafs podcast. I'm Sean Orr, and not only joined with my good buddy Trevor Bass, but our three good buddies. We got the Trevors and Tommy back. It's the fucking playoff preview show.
I was waiting for the fuck. Because you've never brought in one of these without saying, it's the fucking preseason. It's the fucking this. It's the fucking that.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Welcome, guys. Welcome, everybody. Good to be here. Thanks for jumping on.
Well, let's. We're on various time zones. Let's jump in. I know everyone's got a beverage of choice right now. Let's go around the horn of what you're drinking, and we'll short too. I'll start us off. I'm drinking a Dead Elephant IPA from St. Thomas, the hometown of Joe Thornton. I was there last weekend, stopped by the Railway City Brewery, picked up a bunch of beers.
Nice.
I felt it was fitting, and I'm having one, and it's delicious. I'm really happy about this. And maybe we'll go over Saskatchewan next with Trevor of what you're drinking.
Yeah, so I've got, it's called A Dream Within a Dream from Multinational. It's a sour. It's pretty tasty as well. I'm really enjoying that one.
I like it. Where's that brewery located?
In Regina.
Yeah, hold up that artwork again.
Pardon me?
I can. Show us your cans.
Well, that's really cool.
I like that.
Did you just ask him to show you his cans?
I could, but yeah, it's a little X-rated.
So, and we got Wyatt to hook us up with a couple of beers. I can feel it in the bag. It's a 2 tall can situation. And are they going to be the same? They are. So, Tommy, there's one for you. It is a Take Me Home West Coast IPA from the Parkside Brewery in Port Moody.
Ooh, nice.
They make great beers. They do. You want a can or a glass there, Tom? A glass today. just because it's being recorded.
Well,
all right.
You guys getting your beer? We'll kick us off with we started off the start of the year. We did mid-season, and I don't think anyone got the teams right, unless I'm wrong. I know I didn't get the teams right. But let's kick us off with the thoughts. We were all pretty confident that Toronto was going to walk away with the division, which they did. I think from my standpoint, I thought overall it was a great year. I'm really excited to see the emergence of Jack Campbell. That was the biggest thing I really hit a home on at the start of the year. Was I had zero faith in Freddie Anderson. Majority of this group didn't either. And I'm quite happy that he's not starting game one. Because if he was starting game one, I'd be fucking losing my mind. Because I have zero faith in him. I have faith in Jack Campbell, and I'm just ready for it to roll. And from the Leafs standpoint, the year played out as I thought it would. Matthews leading the team in scoring, Marner in scoring, Matthews winning the Rocket. For me, it kind of played out that way. Maybe Trevor, thoughts on your end? Any changes or from the mid or preseason?
Trevor Regina. Or Trevor me?
No, I mean, I think it played out basically as we all expected, right? I mean, they had a comfortable lead for most of the season in the division, and Jack Campbell, as Sean alluded to, played really, really well for us. And it was a pretty successful season aside from that 10 game slide they had, in the middle of the year. But that's just growing pains with the part of the regular season, right? Nothing you can really do about that. A little disappointed in their power play, obviously, over the last half of the season. Didn't really get much going there, but hopefully the playoffs are a different story and they can pick it back up and, get back to that 20-25%, in the playoffs.
Man.
Boys, what are your thoughts on the deck?
Go, Tom.
I was pretty happy with everything. It's like the slides really hurt, and I think everything that was expected happened, but all the great things that happened, the 688 winning percentage, the fifth best record in the NHL, first division title in 21 years, a goalie running now 11-0. Like, all these great things happened this year for the Leafs. But then we sit there and we will nitpick. Their biggest weakness would be their power play and their goaltending situation if Freddie plays. I don't have a lot of trust in this team, and I haven't in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So going into the playoffs, I think this is probably the year I feel like that is maybe changing. But I still, I got that trust factor that just. But we've seen it though, right? We've seen them play without Hyman. We've seen them play without Freddie, and they still win.
Even without Matthews. 3-0 against the Oilers without Matthews earlier in the year.
They haven't won a playoff series in 20 years, Tommy. So I think we all can say we have no faith in them.
Yeah.
And I think for me that it was a growing year of growing to trust a different goalie, and I think we fully trust Campbell. I would roll him back out after a bad loss. I mean, I don't feel like Freddie needs to just be sitting there with his arm warm in the bullpen for the entire first round of the playoffs. And for me, the revelation was sort of the next step Austin Matthews took, and the sort of low key effect that TJ Brodie just had on this team. Like, we were all happy with that signing, but watching that guy day in, day out, if he's not the most intelligent defenseman in the NHL, the list is short and he's on it.
Yeah.
Right. And just from a kind of like a trust factor and comparing it to last year's team, there was a Terry Koshan from the Toronto Sun just tweeted out like maybe an hour and a bit ago, the lineup for Game 5 versus Columbus last year. And if this doesn't help you trust them a little bit more, I don't know what will. So he went with that loaded up line, if you remember that, of Tavares, Matthews, Marner. Then he had Nylander at center with Hyman and Kapanen. Then he had Kerfoot, Johnson, Mikheyev. Johnson came in cold. And Clifford, Engvall, Spezza on the fourth line. Then the D was Riley, Ceci, Marinson, Hall, Dermott, Barry. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And we picked that. We all picked that team to win the cup in our predictions last year too. Like, it was like that. This is a different team.
Do you guys, who would rate Muzzin ahead of Brodie? So on the depth chart for the Leafs of the most important defensemen, does anyone have Muzzin ahead of Brodie?
No, I don't. If we have to sacrifice one,
no.
I actually do. I think Muzzin's that important, and we saw it last year. And I'm going to give you guys what my opinion is that when Muzzin went down last year, it's such an important piece for that lineup that Brodie doesn't bring. Brodie, yes, is very intelligent. Muzzin is big. He plays hard. He plays mean. He's not afraid to cross the line, which you need to have in the playoffs, and you need to have the intelligence of knowing when to do it, aka Nazem Kadri not knowing when to cross the line. And I feel like with Jake Muzzin back there, he's a different element than TJ Brodie. And for me, I would be more concerned if Jake Muzzin left the lineup, just because of the slight intangibles is that he can be a big, mean motherfucker, and that means something in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And we kind of saw what the team became without him last year, and it was a big hole. It's probably a coin flip, really. And
it's
Brodie
a good question.
Yeah, it is a great question. Brodie's just stabilized our top pairing so much, and people can. There's a bit of an anti-Riley, a bit of a online blame game going on with him right now. And I mean, I guess I would buy into it if we were in last place, but we're not. And he has a different style of play, and I can see where I can understand the argument, but I don't think it needs to be so over the top. Let's put it that way.
And I think the point on Muzzin too is like every team will point out that all their forwards have to finish their checks on Muzzin, and you'll find that the Josh Andersons and the Kachucks, they're the guys that are taking the extra step, the extra lean, the extra hit on Muzzin. They know that's a key factor. They got to play him hard and slow him down and get him off the ice. And we'll see if he drops the gloves. But I was going to make this point later in the thing is, that bottom six and those bottom pairing guys are the ones that are going to have to pair off with Montreal when things get nasty, or if they want to take that game to a dirtier level.
That's true. Yeah.
I feel like Wayne Simmons welcomes that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and Zach Bogosian, he's like
no Bogosian for round one though.
Oh, is that confirmed?
it's basically confirmed. He's not going to be in round one.
So Dermott Sandin.
Yeah,
I think they play Hutton.
Do you over Dermott or over Sandin?
I think Chiefs got a thing for Hutton.
Okay.
really.
Maybe he brings more of a Bogosian flavor.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, Hutton didn't play too bad in the last couple of games there. I mean, he was, he was unnoticeable, really. But as a defenseman, I mean, you kind of want to be that way, right? You don't want your name in the headline stuff. So,
well, I said at the start of the year when we were coming into the season, I kind of had a little bit of a tweet storm about Travis Dermott, and I'm like, where does he belong in this team? Like, what is Travis Dermott? And I said the guy should just go put on 25 pounds of muscle, change his mentality, and be that Zach Bogosian-y kind of like just be, because he's kind of falling through the cracks, and just be a little more shitty to play against. Like he has a lot of flash and dash. He likes his fancy reversals and fake reversals, and he actually is a good escape artist. He does make good escapes in the D zone a lot too, but there's something else that he just doesn't bring, which I can't put my finger on, that keeps him out of being a top four defenseman. And maybe Hutton is kind of like a Dermott with a little bit more of that kind of knowing where he actually needs to be in the roster and what his role should be.
Yeah, I think Dermott should spend more time with like Wayne Simmons working on his fighting stance than Barbara Underhill working on his edges.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's like he needs to prioritize his life.
He's he knows how to skate.
Yeah, he does. And
we're starting to kind of toy around the edges here, but let's get into the first round matchup. The first time in almost 40 years, something that I've never seen in my lifetime. Not sure about you guys, but we have Leafs and Habs. This is a big playoff matchup. It's sad that we're not going to have any fans there. And let's get into the keys to the series. And Tommy, maybe kick us off with what's your biggest key to the series coming in with the Habs here?
The key to the series is going to be special teams, 1,000%. It's they got to score on the first power play and just put it all behind them and put that thing back at 35% and tick along at that rate. Their penalty killing's atrocious over the season, but it is a new season, right? It's I'm happy that Hyman's back. I'm happy that Freddie's our backup goalie. We need a really the key is we're going to have a third line shutdown line that we are going to throw out on the ice to eat up the other team.
Who's on that line for you?
Sorry?
Who's on that line for you?
Well, I think they used to call it like the Zap line, the Mikheyev, Hyman, and either Engvall.
So you wouldn't put Hyman on the top line. You put Hyman to the third line?
I think the way Keith uses him sometimes, he has him on the third line. He pulls him off the top line when he knows he's got to have a shutdown guy, and then he gets mixed up in the second period because of special teams, and Hyman ends up back on the Matthews line again by the third period, or he's off that line because they got to score a goal. I think we really do need that shutdown line more than anything else than Hyman playing on the top line for me. I think it's a shuffling of Foligno and all the other interchangeable parts on that line. And that's where I was going to say before, I think the biggest key is us, the top six of those guys, staying out of the dirty game with Montreal,
right,
and letting the bottom six guys take care of it.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. For me, the key is like I think I don't think there's a team in the league that doesn't out hustle the Leafs in that hustle part of the game. Like for some reason, the Leafs can be outworked by everybody in the league, and because they're not one of those teams that has a lot of burners, a lot of guys that just fly up and down the wing in straight lines and take away your time and space. But Montreal will do that, and so they just have to like withstand like the finishing of the checks and the sort of blanketing of their offense, and just capitalize on their opportunities, whether it's 5-on-5, whether it's power play. They have to get pucks to the net, and they also have to just get dirty goals. Like not everything needs to be the 1v1, right? Like it's just, you gotta just get the puck in the net, like just get it into the blue ice and crash and bang. It's playoff hockey.
So your key is score more goals than the opponent.
Score more goals than the opponent,
Score more
but
goals.
the style of goal, the style of goal they're going to need is not going to be Tavares taking a snapshot from the top of the circle because he's feeling it, or because it worked in junior. Like it's not going to work like that. It's got to be pucks to the net, bodies to the net. It's not going to be a pretty series.
Trevor, keys for your.
I think it's just, continuing that regular season consistency, getting the scoring from all four lines, getting those dirty goals, finishing checks, playing good defense. I think it's just keeping that regular season consistency is the biggest thing, maybe try and get that power play going. Like I mentioned earlier, like it's been mentioned a couple of times, but I think they do well defensively, which is good. I mean, Montreal doesn't really have any big high-powered offense. They don't have much high-powered offense. So like I think, keeping it easy, keeping it simple should be a key to success for them.
They have capitalistic offense though. They do. I mean, they tend to capitalize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But limit those mistakes, right? Keep it simple and play good defense, and I mean that's the easiest way to put it. You did it for 56 games, so why can't you continue doing it for the rest of the playoffs, right?
Yeah, great points there. And for me, going back to my initial points, where it comes down to goaltending. You need to stop the puck, and I'm nervous going against Carey Price because we've seen what Carey Price can do when he gets hot. He can be the best goalie in the world, and you can get goalied in a short-term competition like a playoff series here. So this is what my key is. Jack Campbell needs to stop more fucking pucks than Carey Price. It's that simple. For us to win, that's what needs to happen. And if it was Frederik Andersen, I would have zero faith. And it goes back to the trade that Dubas made over a year ago to get rid of Hutchison, which could be a sneaky trade here for Jack Campbell. But of all the talk that's been of does Andersen start and who do you go to, Jack Campbell is 17-2-2 with a .925 save percentage. That's very good. Yeah. And Anderson's not been very good, and he's been hurt for a long time. And I think for me, it's hoping that Campbell can find that equilibrium where he's not too high, not too low, because we've seen it when he loses, he gets very critical of himself. And he can be when he wins, he can be very, it's not because of me, it's because of my teammates. He needs to find that proper equilibrium of what's good for him and just stay calm. We're going to likely see Andersen in this because we have a back-to-back with the schedule. But I still think for us, the key of this series is not being goalied by Carey Price, and Jack Campbell continues what he's been doing and continues on this potential arc of the future number one for this team.
Yeah.
On that point, I would love to hear your thoughts on, does he play game 3 or 4?
It all depends on the situation. So like it depends. Are they 1-1? Is it 2-0? Yeah. Right now we could have to go through so many scenarios to determine it. It's going to be in the moment. I think if they're up 2-0 and he's played quite well, I think he goes back to Campbell for game 3. Just keep riding it. And once you get to 3-0, you're in a good spot. And I think you feel more comfortable going to Andersen at 3-0 versus 2-1 or 1-2. But there's so many scenarios that you would have to do on the fly and how you feel. Like I think it'll come down to whatever Sheldon Keefe's gut tells him, he's going to do it.
And do we know what's been bugging Jack Campbell is other than the knee after the Tkachuk injury, because he hasn't been able to play a long string of games?
His growing.
Or his growing.
I think it's always been the growing. It's been they haven't said it, but it's been the growing muscle of wanting to be able to push off. I see Dobby has made an appearance.
Dobby has entered the chat.
Did Dobby put in a playoff pool?
He did not this year. But
Wow,
he did have that year where he picked the entire first round.
you're literally like on home lockdown. Like, what do you like? You should be all over this. You have 3 hours. Figure it out.
I was going to say that for me, that is the whether what game Campbell gets or Freddie or whether he gets in at all is 100% based on the score. I mean, if they're down 2-1, Campbell goes back to back.
Depends how he's playing. Like it's so like how's he playing?
I guess
like,
if they're down 2-1, yeah,
like
that's
Does
true.
he recover in time to play game 4 after 3 straight games back to like day off, obviously. But then I was listening to Sirius XM and Rick Tocchet was going on about Shane O'Brien, and they were totally going like, it just this back to back. It's never been seen in the playoffs in years. I think the Stanley Cup final one year had it, but they said players are such ritual players. Like it's really disappointing. They said to see that the NHL has scheduled them a back to back.
Yeah,
awful.
And
it's awful.
I mean, I believe when we were a lot younger, I believe the format was back to back, 1 day travel, back to back, and then 1-1-1.
Mm-hmm.
But that hasn't been done since sports science entered the chat. That hasn't been done in a long, long time.
But like, there's a scenario
and
where
private jets and stuff.
Campbell goes 0-2 to start, and then Freddie comes in and pitches a shutout in game 3. Then does Freddie start in the back-to-back? Like, there's so many weird scenarios that you can go to where I think it's like you need to take it one game at a time. And then when it comes down to it, it'll be Sheldon Keefe's call, taking all the data, his feel of it, and he has to make that gut call of who do you go with, because at this point there'll be a million people in his ear, and he's the one with a finger on the pulse, and he's our head coach. And for me, it's like at this point, it's like you have to trust the people that got us there, trust the players, trust the coaches. And if he chooses to go back or play Campbell back to back or go to Freddie, it like you have to trust it and then deal with it in the moment. And then afterwards, if it wasn't successful, then be critical. But it's for me, it's like, well, it's happening. You'll let it play out. And I know, Trevor, you'll probably be all over like Twitter, just like trashing everything. But let it play out. Let's see what happens, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Have any last thoughts on the back-to-back situation?
Yeah, there's no like secret sauce to it, as we've alluded to. It's just all scenario based, and there's so many variables and so many ways that it could play out that it has to be taking one game at a time. It has to be it has to be a consistency for the level of how whoever's playing the best goes in, right?
Yeah. Before we get into predictions and reasons for those predictions, Tommy had a story. You had a Habs Leafs story.
So the All-Star game was in Montreal. I believe it was in 2009 or 2008. And my sister, does the pro nets for them, and we're being walked around with Dan Craig around the arena. And I've been to a couple of All-Star games, and every team has a monument around the arena.
Right.
So there'd be like 32, and they've got every team has something erected that you can look at. And we're walking up to the Toronto Maple Leafs one, and you can't see it. It's like it's been raining and hailing, and the weather's been shit in Montreal. So my brother-in-law walks up, and he goes, "Oh, you can hardly see the Leaf thing with all the thing." And he starts wiping it, and it's spit.
Oh no! Oh no!
Every Habs fan has been walking by spitting on the Leaf monument outside the arena.
Oh jeez! Oh no!
For a day. Oh. He just kind of pulled his hand off, thought it was kind of like slush and snow and hail, and he's like, "This is pure spit on my hands."
STD or something.
Yeah, gross.
Maybe that's where COVID-19. Maybe it's COVID-09.
And the reason, in the segue to this, is that the Iceman Dan Craig retired.
Oh yeah. Oh, did he?
As well.
Yeah.
He's a pretty awesome dude.
He does great work. That just goes to show you that actually it shows you the depth of the rivalry, but then also that now we're in the death of the rivalry, right? Yeah. Like it's for a lot of people, this is just another game or another series. Like there's really no feeling there right now for this, and it's not going to be done any justice this year without audiences, without fans. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
I
point.
hate back even in the 70s and the 80s between Ontario and Quebec, just politically would drive this series. I remember, I was 10 in 1977 and French was just introduced in the public schools and I wasn't allowed to take French. My parents are like, you're not learning that language.
Wow.
Those are the Habs.
Yeah.
It's not happening. And my dad, I had to sit in the library every day. There was 7 other kids there that weren't allowed to take French.
Taking the option on French class, eh?
Yeah.
Real hatred.
That is wild. That is wild. But I will say before last thing, because the juices are starting to flow a little bit now with the rivalry, but I think it's to the Leafs' advantage, and I should have built this into my prediction, but I think that not having fans hurts the Habs way more than it hurts the Leafs because that building gets rocking when the Habs go on a bit of a roll, right? They get 2 goals in 2 minutes. That place is on fire. And there is legitimate hockey ghosts that used to live in the Montreal Forum that have actually transferred to the Bell Center, and they affect outcomes of games in the city of Montreal. Like, it is just watching over the years, like the weirdest shit, the weirdest momentum changes, swings happen only there. Like there's I think that hurts Montreal more than it's an understated disadvantage for Montreal, even though they are the far inferior team on paper as well. Yeah.
So let's jump into the series predictions. Maybe Trevor, Tommy, kick us off here. We'll go coast to coast. So I'll go last. Trevor, you're up next.
Sure. Since I already started my sort of disadvantage for the Habs being the audience, like the Habs are only in the playoffs because Calgary completely screwed. Like they just soiled themselves this year. Like we all 4 of us had Calgary in the playoffs. Tommy had them coming out of the Canadian division, which wasn't a terrible prediction at the start of the year. It really wasn't. I mean, they went and got the goalie. Their young core like ours was a year older, but so Montreal, just out of the grace of those hockey gods, are there, and they don't have half our talent. I really, Sean and I have been chirping about the that I've already kind of made my pick, but I'm really concerned about the power play. I hope there's not a lot of them in the series. I hope 99% of this series is played 5-on-5, and I think Austin Matthews has Carey Price's number. I just don't think that Price has ever had an answer for Austin Matthews really, and that might be a little psychological advantage. Plus, if we're gonna put a negative X beside Freddie for being cold, despite and also his history, Price is as cold or colder and coming off of a concussion. Like, we don't know that he's actually not concussed still. He's just going to play. So I don't see the goaltending advantage being huge. So I'm going to say Leafs, but I'm going to say 7 because of specialty, because of the power play. I just don't see it. I don't see a switch flicking for the Leafs power play.
That was the longest fucking winded answer I've ever heard to like a 4-answer response that's only required.
I'm not just gonna say I actually have to talk myself into picking the Leafs, and I think you can understand it, Tommy.
Yeah.
Like if you okay, let's say this. Let's say the bet was, to take all the emotion out of it. If the bet was you get $100,000 if you're right, but you got to chop off your pinky finger if you're wrong. Like those are high stakes. Like that takes all the emotion, the Leaf fan emotion, out of your prediction. Like, which one is it? Like, do you really think they're gonna just easily win the series? Like, it's easy to say it when there's nothing at stake.
Yeah, and that's where it's like a great segue, because that's exactly how I feel. Because it's every year you go in not trusting the Leafs, and you're like, is this going to be the year they're going to make a fool of me?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, because I'm actually going to predict that they're going to lose game 1. Price is going to steal the game, and then he's not going to play again.
Okay.
And then Leafs win the next 3. I'm calling, or the next 4. So I'm calling a 4-1. Either we get into Price's head, or Price plays one game, steals it, and then we don't have to hear about it again. But we sink to our lowest. We can't believe this is happening. we fear it's going to be a quick walk-off, and then we turn everything around the second game, and there's a momentum switch, a fight, a line brawl. Who cares? Somebody goes after Jack Campbell. Like, I think that's going to be the biggest thing is the two ends protecting their goalies.
Yeah.
The after whistle stuff, and I think that's where, if we end up on the power play all the time because we're letting Montreal make those stupid plays and then we can't finish it, that's going to be our demise. But I'm really hoping it's going to go completely the opposite.
That's
I'll keep my answer short.
That's a super specific prediction, though. The losing of game one, they never seeing Price again. I hope that comes true. Then we can brag about how smart you are.
Yeah.
Trevor?
I've got Leafs in 6. I think that like I said, we've gone through the keys of success. I think that on paper the Leafs are a more dominant team. I think Montreal has the ability to squeak out a couple of wins, especially if Carey Price can get hot in a couple of games and steal a few games. But I think the Leafs are the better team in this one and should be taken in 6.
For me, it's Leafs in 5. We've talked about it. There's nothing else to say. We have to wait 5 days or whatever to drop the puck. But I think the boys will be ready. The troops are coming back. It's time to go. So Leafs in 5. So let's jump around now. Let's do some playoff predictions. Let's we'll stay within the North Division, whatever the Honda, Scotiabank, whatever the division was called that no one
Hyundai
referenced during the year. So the next one is we have Edmonton, Winnipeg. For me, it's going to be Edmonton in 6. Winnipeg has shown throughout the year that they cannot control Connor McDavid. I think McDavid and Draisaitl walk all over them, and it's Edmonton in 6 because Hellebuck can steal some games. Trevor?
I've got Edmonton in 5 in that one. Winnipeg has just not looked very good over the last couple of weeks. I think they've only rattled off a couple of wins over the last 10 or 12 games or whatever. So they've been on a bit of a slide, and I don't think they'll be able to handle Draisaitl and McDavid. So Edmonton in 5.
Deck boys?
I've got Oilers in 7. I think it's going to be a bit of a goalie carousel for the Oilers. I think Mike Smith might stand on his head, and then they're going to have to pull in Koskinen, and then he'll shit the bed, and then Smith will come back. But Hellebuck is that goalie, right? Like, he'll keep them in every single game, and he'll steal games for them. There's only probably 5 or 6 guys in the playoffs right now that can steal games, and he's one of them.
It's funny you say the goalie carousel because I chose the Jets in 7 just because I think just because of the goalie carousel. I think that Smith his bubble is going to burst, and then Koskinen is just a bit of a tire fire right now.
All right, moving down to the West Division. We'll stay with the Deck boys. Give us your predictions for you. We have Colorado, St. Louis, and Vegas, Minnesota. So let's we'll do both, and we'll do the divisions together.
Okay, so I have St. Louis in 7. No, in 6. Just because I think some pedigree is going to come through. I think that they're just going to sort of grind the game down. Been there, done that situation. Colorado, they're kind of maybe next year's their year, but it's not this year. And then I just got Vegas in 5. Minnie might steal one, but Vegas is a bit of a juggernaut, a real juggernaut.
I got Colorado taking that series in 7 over St. Louis, and I got Vegas in 5.
There you go.
Trevor?
I got Colorado in 5 and Vegas in 6.
For me, I have Colorado in 5. I think Colorado is very good this year. And then I actually have Wild in 7. Minnesota has played Las Vegas extremely tough this year. I think that's going to be a dogfight series, and don't sleep on this Minnesota team. And I think there might be an upset here. So my big upset would be the Wild in 7. Moving down to what's it called? The East or the Central? I guess it would be the East. We have the Hurricanes in Nashville. I think this is the Central, which the Hurricanes in Nashville and the Lightning in Florida. So I may have butchered where this is, but I think we'll just go with this grouping.
That's
here.
okay. Yeah, just go with it.
For me, I've picked the Hurricanes in 5. I think they are the team to beat in the eastern part of North America. And I've picked the Tampa Bay Lightning in 7. All of their cap circumvention during the year will pay off with their roster of over 100 million. They have Kucherov coming back. They have the best goaltender in the world right now, Andrei Vasilevsky. And I think it'll be a tough out, but Lightning in 7. And we'll go back to Trevor.
I've got this is my only sweep of my predictions, but I've got Carolina sweeping Nashville, and I've got Florida in 7 over Tampa Bay. I think that's a bit of a bold prediction, but I think Florida has.
I like it.
Yeah, I think
I don't hate it.
Proven a lot of stuff. There's a lot of people wrong this season. They've had a pretty consistent season. Barkov's been playing lights out. So, yeah, Florida in 7.
Got it.
I'm going to be, I don't know what your pick is, but I am going to take Nashville. I'm going to take Juicy Saros as being the epic goaltender for that series. And I'm going to take Tampa Bay in 7 as well.
That is
take Tampa Bay in 6. And like the Trevors are thinking alike, I had Carolina as my only sweep of the first round. So we got a sweep and we have a Nashville in 7. Wow. Interesting.
All right, you stay with the deck, guys. So give us. I was correct on the divisions. The last 2 matchups that we have are Washington, Boston, which will be an excellent series, and New York Islanders, Pittsburgh, a rematch of 2 years ago.
It pains me to pick Boston, but I just am. I'm not going to say it's because of Taylor Hall, but he has played well there. I just think there's a little bit of magic there, a little bit of Habs like original 6 magic that the Leafs had at one time, but it's been too long for them to conjure up anymore. But Boston still has kind of that mystique, and they know how to win. And I'm going to just say that's going to be a 6-game series. They're not going to have to go the distance on that one. And then I got Pitt. I think they're highly motivated this year. Pittsburgh in 7. I think that's going to be a really tough series. But my favorite series to watch is definitely going to be the Boston-Washington series.
I have both those series going to 6 and the same picks. I've got, heaven forbid, Boston for some reason.
Yeah.
My wife actually said to me this morning, she goes, I thought you hated Boston the most. And I was like, well, that's just the last 10 years. But if you had to ask.
This is gambling, honey.
Yeah. And then it's, I'll take the Penguins over the Islanders. I don't know how long. It probably will go 6 or 7 games. I'm more worried about Pittsburgh's goaltending than I would be anything.
Is that Christian Jarry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unproven for sure.
And then the Islanders just, Barry Trotz. The guy can just make things happen, but I think...
Or not happen. He can make things not happen.
True.
Yeah.
Trevor?
I've got both these series in 6. So I've got the New York Islanders over the Pittsburgh Penguins in 6. And I've got Boston over Washington.
For me, I'm exactly the same as Trevor, BC Trevor here. I have Boston in 6, and then I have Pittsburgh in 7. I think Pittsburgh redeems themselves. They get over the hump and get over Barry Trotz knocking out the Islanders. And I do agree. I think the Boston Washington series is the first round series to watch. That's going to be a physical, awesome test of it. And so we've gone through the entire first round here. Let's get into some Stanley Cup final predictions. I will kick us off, and there was a reason I picked Boston in the first round. I went extremely homerish with my predictions, and I'm predicting Toronto over Boston for the Stanley Cup championship. And I'm doing this because there'll be no fans there. It's absolutely fitting that the year when there's going to be no fans the entire year, when we have this historic team on their point place with the goal scoring of Austin Matthews, that no one gets to be there to enjoy it. It's a perfect Leaf thing here. And for me, it's that small redemption of beating Boston. So I'm going Toronto over Boston in the Stanley Cup finals. I will likely be wrong, but it was fun to write that down. We'll go to Trevor and Regina.
I've got Colorado winning the Cup. I've got Colorado going all the way. I think
no, not Naz, not Naz. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I think so. I think Colorado's going to win. You know, I believe they won the President's Trophy, so you know they're too strong. Their defense is really good. Their goaltending they've been excellent. You know, they got a lot of firepower up front, so I've got Colorado winning the cup this year.
The Leafs won the Prime Minister's Trophy.
Yeah,
they did. They did win the Prime Minister's Trophy,
and he's really good looking too.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to do the math, but I can't. Toronto and Boston couldn't line up once they got them into the semifinals because
it depends though on the point. Like there could be
it's 1-8, I guess, or whatever.
It's all reseeded.
Somebody was saying that Montreal and Colorado will mathematically never meet in the Stanley Cup if they both go through. It's impossible for them to both get there.
I didn't extrapolate stuff yeah.
Don't ruin my dream, Tommy.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying in my calculations they didn't get there.
Yeah.
So I have Toronto, Vegas for the final because I finally want to go to Vegas, and I will go to Vegas this year if this all happens.
That'll be July.
Yep.
Right. That would be spectacular.
And then I've got Toronto in 7.
Obviously. All right. I'm going to go with Toronto, Tampa in the final, and Tampa is they're going to defend the title. Yeah. 7-game series. I mean, you're the champs, and they're not a fluke. Like they weren't maybe like St. Louis of a couple of years ago. They those guys have to be. You got to knock out the champ to be the champ.
They're good.
I think we're going to see our first back-to-back since Pitt a few years ago. Yeah.
So last prediction that we have of who would be the Conn Smythe and point leader, and for me, I've picked Mitch Marner. I think Mitch Marner is going to have a hell of a playoff series here. And for me, I think this is Marner's coming out party. He's been a top 5 player all year. He's going to put the puck in the net as well as dish out Dawson Matthews. I think the top playoff performance will be Mitch Marner.
For me, it's Nathan McKinnon. I think McKinnon's going to have a hell of a playoff series. You know, he's been doing it all year long on Colorado, and I think he's going to continue in the playoffs. So Nathan McKinnon for me.
Tommy.
You know what? I had Mitch Marner, and I said if anybody picks him before me, I'm going to go to my other pick, which is Mark Stone.
Oh, wow. Underrated guy, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally unless you're in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got point leader as Brady Point, coincidentally, and Vasilevsky as the Conn Smythe again.
Goalie.
Yeah.
Point got hurt at practice today.
He did, eh? I thought I was on Twitter way too much, but obviously I have to be on Twitter a little bit more than I already am.
Sticking to the stands at the end of practice and walked off.
Oh shit, that's not good.
Hit by a puck or something.
Probably Kucherov.
Probably.
So I don't know if you plan on doing this, Sean, but I have just a couple of we just go back on a couple of our predictions, not too specifically from the preseason, and our Leaf goal scoring winner actually ended up being Austin Matthews. I picked JT. I didn't know he was going to suck this year. Leafs assist leader. Everybody had Tommy had Austin. I had Sean and Trev had Mitch. I had the captain. Points. We had Matthews, and then I had the nephew of John Tavares, and so that one didn't work out either. Scotiabank Division goals. It was split between Draisaitl and Matthews, but Matthews took the crown. Assists. Everybody had McDavid, except I had Draisaitl. Points. doesn't even matter what we said about that. And just not to get too specific with our standing predictions, we each had 2 playoff teams right, and we each had 2 playoff teams wrong.
Yeah,
pretty much Calgary and Vancouver that fucked everybody's from going 4 for 4.
Yeah,
Ottawa won like 6 more games.
Yeah,
they changed everything.
Yeah, it was looking good.
They tried to play spoiler, and they could have, but the standings just weren't close enough going down in the end because of
the season,
yeah.
and had any kind of confidence.
I think had Vancouver not gone through that situation, the standings may have played out a little bit different. I think that affected a lot of stuff, including helping Montreal sneak in. Yeah,
I agree.
All right, well let's do a one quick around the horn of how your beer was. I'll go first. I had the Dead Elephant from Railway City Brewing Co. Excellent beer. For me, it's a JT. I could drink this all night, but not all the night, like an Austin with a 5-pointer.
Okay.
So for me, it's a very good beer.
Got it. Trev?
Yeah, mine multinational, Dream Within Dream Sour. Again, mine, I'm going to go with Sean's as well with the JT. I could drink this pretty regularly. It's a delicious beer. It's, it's pretty good.
Nice.
I'd highly recommend it.
I'll let you go ahead.
Parkside Brewing Company. Take Me Home, West Coast IPA. I will give this an Austin Matthews.
Whoa.
I thought it was I would actually sit here and drink 3 or 4 more of these and not, they're very good. But it's a 7. No, maybe not. It's a 7.4. Okay. I would have one more, but I would really fucking enjoy it.
Yeah.
What's the one under Matthews? Is that a Hyman?
That's a JT.
That's a JT. I might put it closer to JT.
About a 4 out of 10 or 8 out of 10.
Maybe even a 7.
Okay. Yeah. JT light.
I think I would really like to taste this a bit fresher.
Okay.
For the hop, content being a 7%.
That's fair. Tommy brought me a little gift. He brought me a Walter Caesar craft vodka cocktail.
Ooh.
Now available across the country.
So I'm going to refrigerate that and I'm going to enjoy that. So thank you, Tommy.
Perfect beverage for game 1, which goes Thursday here. We have our playoff pool, lots of great things happening. So I think thanks guys for hopping on here. It was an excellent, almost an hour here talking hockey.
Yeah, wicked.
And fucking go Leafs go. I'm pumped.
Go Leafs go, baby.
Go Leafs go.
Go Leafs go.
Yeah.